Listen, I know most people love Darby Allin versus Will Ospreay, but personally I hated it, and I'm going to be talking about that in today's video, as well as the rest of last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. I'm Ben Allison, and I've analysed last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, and here are my 5 key findings. In at number 5, what is going on with Ricochet? Over the past month, we've seen the Hurt Syndicate try and recruit Ricochet into the group, and as the weeks have gone on, Ricochet has shown more and more heel tendencies and teased more and more that he will be joining the faction. But last night, we finally saw them in the same ring together, and Ricochet seemingly was about to join the faction, and they just pulled the offer away. MVP literally ripped up the card, and I'm completely shocked. Now, what I'm hoping this is that they're trying to coach him. They're trying to show to him, you can't just join the group. You need to prove yourself. You can't just start acting cocky and that's enough. You have to back it up in the ring as well. Because I do think Ricochet would be such a perfect addition to the group. So I hope that they're just not abandoning that now. Because I do think this new cocky character that Ricochet has in the Hurt Syndicate could work very, very well. But regardless, what I can say, and I can say with confidence, is that I think this is the best Ricochet has ever been from a character standpoint. I've always loved him in between the ropes, but when it comes to his character work, let's be honest, he's been a little bit bland. But this gimmick so far, I am excited by, I am interested by, and I cannot wait to see where it goes next. In at number 4, the 4-way AEW title feud is being executed well. Can they coexist? Storylines are done just way too much in wrestling, and usually they feel repetitive and they're not done well at all. But last night, we saw one done right. We saw the 3 challengers teaming up to take on Jon Moxley, along with the rest of the Death Riders. Orange Cassidy was, ironically, the sensible one in this situation. He knew that the only way to take down Mox was for them all to team up. Meanwhile, Jay White said, "Hey OC, I agree," but you could tell it had an undertone. You could tell that Jay White was only there for his own benefit. He will screw over OC or Hangman Page the first chance he gets if it will benefit him. Meanwhile, Hangman Page, well, he doesn't care about a game plan. He's going off purely emotions, not logic, and he wants Jon Moxley. He wants the AEW title, so had no interest in the tag team match other than getting his hands on Jon Moxley. And the match happened. OC and Jay White for a while worked well as a team, but the numbers game was simply too much. Hangman then tried to come in to save the day and take down Mox, and it failed massively, just as OC basically said that it would. Jay White was then arguing with Hangman Page, making it clear that, hey, Jay White is only interested in it for his own benefit. OC then got rolled up, Moxley got the pin, match over, and basically, exactly what OC said would happen, happened. And I know a lot of people are complaining about how predictable this Fatal 4-Way is going to be at World's End, but I think it has been an entertaining feud, and no matter who you put against Moxley, nobody actually believes he's going to lose this early into the reign. In at number 3, Toni Storm is a creative genius. When Toni Storm just abandoned her timeless gimmick a few weeks ago and returned to her old gimmick, I had questions. I understand that she didn't want the timeless one to outstay its welcome, but at the same time to just suddenly return to your old gimmick, it made no sense to me and I didn't think it was going to work at all. And then I heard about this amnesia storyline, and I thought it was absolutely stupid. I couldn't understand what it was, it sounded so silly, and then I saw it executed, and somehow, I don't know how, it's so entertaining. And it reminded me, at first I hated the idea of timeless Toni Storm as well. I thought that gimmick was a bit cringe. But, again, she executed it perfectly. This is the brilliance about Toni Storm. Somehow she takes really silly ideas on paper and turns it into complete and utter entertainment gold. I mean, after her wrestling career, she undoubtedly needs a job in creative for either AEW or WWE, because her ideas are not only good ideas, but she manages to turn, some weird ideas into absolute gold. But before we get to number 3, if you guys could like and subscribe, that'd be massively appreciated. Here at Wrestling Republic, we create between 5 to 10 free videos every single week, as well as a live daily stream every single day at 8 PM UK, 3 PM Eastern, and 12 PM Pacific. Also, we're currently doing a bit of a questionnaire here at Wrestling Republic. It takes 30 seconds to 60 seconds to fill out. I've linked it in the description below. If you could fill that out, I'd massively appreciate it. It'll basically just ask you your thoughts on Allison Analysis and Wrestling Republic as a whole. Even if you've only seen... even if this is your first video watching, your feedback would be massively appreciated, and it is completely anonymous as well. Thank you, guys. In at number 2, you could genuinely argue Mercedes Monae has been Women's Wrestler of the Year from an in-ring perspective. Now, hear me out on this one, guys, right? Mercedes Monae has had 14 matches in 2024. 12 of those 14 have been great matches, 2 under-delivered, and admittedly, those 2 were quite high-profile matches against Britt Baker and then against Hikaru Shida. But at the same time, she's also had 2 Match of the Year contenders. More recently, the one against Hazuki this past weekend in New Japan, but also the Double or Nothing match against Willow Nightingale earlier on in the year. And while undoubtedly her character work and her promos just haven't hit the mark in AEW, from a purely in-ring perspective, I think it's really hard to deny that she has to be in the conversation for Women's Wrestler of the Year. I mean, personally, I would say from an in-ring standpoint, the UK wrestler Rio, Mayu Iwatani, Sari, and probably Stephanie Vaquera as well have had slightly better years than her, but undoubtedly Monae has to be in the conversation. And in at number 1, I hated Will Ospreay versus Darby Allin. I love both wrestlers, and don't get me wrong, I'm not somebody who thinks every wrestling move should be a headlock and finishers should never be kicked out of. I'm not like that at all. But in one sentence, I believe the purpose of professional wrestling is to suspend your disbelief. And I think to do that, things need to be realistic, but also feel larger than life. So the best matches know how to toe the line between realism and being slightly unrealistic, but having a story which is so good that you are invested and your mind subconsciously justifies the things which maybe seem a little unrealistic. But last night, in a tournament match in the middle of the card, you could not tell me for a second that Will Ospreay hitting a Styles Clash from the apron to the outside on Darby Allin, then going back in the ring and hitting an Oz cutter on Darby Allin, and Darby Allin kicking out all in the space of 20 seconds, you cannot tell me for a second that's realistic. And then to make things worse, Darby Allin got up very quickly, went up to the top rope, hit his finisher, which is from the top rope diving down on into the ring, and then getting up very quickly once again and hitting the move once again. I mean, this guy basically just no-sold not only a finisher, but a finisher from the apron to the outside. And then another finisher on top of that. I mean, I'm really glad some people love this match. I am, but for me, I was watching it and I was just thinking, this is a little bit silly. I mean, I am not invested at this point because I thought the first part of the match was really good, but just as it went on, it lost me. Again, no hate to either wrestler. I'm a big fan of both of them, and both of them have had so many great matches in AEW and around the world. But come on, a Styles Clash to the outside, and then an Oz cutter and a kick out on the middle of a card in just a normal tournament match? No. But overall, I did like last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. The other good match, I think, was Shelton Benjamin versus the Beast Mortos, and I say that it was a little clunky at times. I think Mortos wasn't quite used to the style of Shelton Benjamin, but they did have fun moments in the match itself. But what did you guys think of the show? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And again, if you could fill out that survey, which is linked in the top line of the description, that would be massively appreciated. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys on Saturday to analyze Friday Night SmackDown. See you guys then. Peace.